Hey everybody, Max here, hope you're well. And today I'm really happy to be with Matt Tovar. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, good. How are you?
I'm fine. We are really glad to have you today for a special interview with the character animation community. So, can you introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Matt Tovar. I guess on my Instagram it's known as Anna Matt. Um, but I am an animator. I've been working since 2008, doing games, movies, TV, and then a lot of personal animations that I do for fun. Um, yeah, so right now I teach at a university, and then I also still work in the industry, um, working on cinematic stuff like that.
That's really awesome. Actually, we are currently watching the compile video. So, can you let us know a bit more about your journey? Where did you started? When? And what was like the few steps that you had before going where you are now?
So I started in 2008. I graduated, and then uh, I went to a university called the University of the Incarnate Word in San Antonio, Texas, and I learned kind of everything there. So I was a generalist, so I could do like modeling, rigging, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to focus more on animation, so I I did more of focus on that. So at the towards my junior senior year, I started doing some animation mentor classes as well to to study more animation specifically. So and then after all that, I just started working. I first went to Sony San Diego in 2008 after I graduated, um, and then I stayed there for a bunch of years. I worked on a bunch of stuff there. I think my first game I worked on there was Uncharted 2. So it was a fun, where I got lucky to work on Uncharted as my first game. Um,
Yeah, that was
so
actually a really beautiful game.
yeah, it was pretty. I played it a lot, so it was pretty fun. Um, so yeah, I started there. I worked on Uncharted 2. I worked on um, what else? Killzone, SOCOM, a bunch of other games. And then after a couple of years, I went to ImageWorks, Sony in LA, to work on Green Lantern, which was wasn't received that well, but it was fun to work on. I learned a lot and got to meet a lot of people. Um, so I did that, um, and then once that wrapped up, I just tried to figure out what I wanted to do, like stay in LA or not. So I actually decided to go back to Sony San Diego to work on some more games and stuff like cinematics. Uncharted 3 was actually the game I went back to work on. Um, and then
That's
after that, after I did another, a year or so there, I actually went back to ImageWorks to work on Spider-Man. Um, so that was fun. And then since I was in LA, I decided I'll stay up there, and I decided to go work at Naughty Dog afterwards for The Last of Us, which was super awesome to work on that. I was there for about a year on that one, and then after that, I went to Infinity Ward to work on Call of Duty Ghosts, and then and then I did a couple of little small stints, like just some small little animation freelance stuff. But after that, I just kind of been, lately I've actually just been working at, it seems like Infinity Ward or Naughty Dog, or this past summer I went to work at Crystal Dynamics to work on Marvel's Avengers. So that was fun. Should be pretty awesome when it comes out. And then I've also transitioned to teach full time at a university, which is where I graduated from, University of the Incarnate Word. So so lately the way it's been working is I teach full time, but since we don't have summer classes, I usually go jump to a studio to work on something, and then I'll come back, or I do it remotely if they allow that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the gist of my experience so far.
Well, that's really cool. Thanks. Quite a
Yeah.
lot of awesome work. That's super cool. So we have a few questions from the community, and the first one is, what's the thing you know about the animation industry that you wish you knew earlier?
The things about the animation industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I started doing this and studying it, and I didn't know anything about the industry when I started doing it. And nowadays, it seems like there's so much stuff out there. Like there's so many talks and everything about it, and it's hard not to know of what's going on with places and things like that nowadays. So, so what did I wish I knew? I don't know. It's hard to say. I think I wish I knew how maybe on top of your game you have to be, and be constantly kind of improving, and not really just like settling and saying, okay, I'm okay now. I don't have to do any more, kind of a thing, right? Because as technology and all that stuff advances, then we also have to keep improving with it. Otherwise, this kind of stuff gets outdated a little bit. So, so I guess I wish I didn't really know how like, oh man, you got to be on top of your game kind of all the time.
Okay, thanks for sharing this.
Yeah.
And another question from the community, and I will complete it. So my question is, what are you actually teaching? And the question is, do you plan to do some stuff with Blender and any tutorials?
So what am I teaching at the university? What am I teaching?
Yeah.
I teach only animation courses. So I teach principles of animation course, a body mechanics course, advanced acting course, a game animation course, a portfolio kind of course where you just kind of work on portfolio pieces, polishing, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I teach. So yeah, a bunch of animation kind of related topics. So if someone want to do games, we do game courses, or we'll do acting stuff if they want to do feature kind of work. And then the Blender, I still need to practice with Blender. I haven't used it much because I've just been using Maya ever since I studied in school. So I need to practice with it. I tried it one time, and I was really slow, and I was pressing Maya hotkeys, and I was messing things up. So I need to see what it's like and test it out, because I know a lot of people are starting to use it. So I do have plans. I just don't know when I'm gonna jump in and be able to really figure it out for Blender.
Okay, thanks for answering. Another question is, do you have some tips regarding facial expression and lip sync animation?
Tips for facial expression and lip sync animation. Yeah, lip sync animation, the thing that I've seen a lot is that when people animate, or in general, like they're beginners, or they'll animate the jaw a ton, and it looks like the jaw is just a bunch of like chattering going on with the jaw, which we don't really do that. Ours are pretty our jaw, when we talk, our jaws are not that like chattery like this, right? So I think that's what I would say, watch out for that kind of stuff. I would say simplify the jaw on that. Facial expressions. My tips, I think just trying to keep it simple, the facial expressions. It's not that I know that some rigs have a ton of controls and you can do a whole bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, these expressions should be pretty simple and just clear to read, right? They shouldn't be like um, a ton of weird shapes in the browse, like not connecting with each other, things like that. So I would say my tip with that would be just to really keep it simple. I don't know if you remember the old like Norman rigs. I don't know if you know those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those old Norman rigs are, I don't know, those were like over 10 years old. Um, but if you look at all those tests back then, those are all awesome tests because they read and the clarity's there. So I would say those are I would say that's a tip is just try to, as these rigs get more advanced, I would say just still try to keep it really simple to start with, and then you can put on all the extra awesome subtle stuff in there. But I think really keep it simple is my tip on that.
Okay. How do you stay inspired and how to overcome artist fatigue?
Um, I think the inspired is from seeing all these games and movies and all this stuff coming out. I think that's cool to see all that. Like when Spider-Verse came out, I think that inspired probably a ton of people. Um, so I think all that helps stay inspired. Seeing a bunch of awesome animations and storytelling, all that kind of stuff. How to overcome artist fatigue. Um, well, you definitely don't want to. If you're feeling like you're fatigued, like if I'm feeling fatigued, I just don't animate that day, or I don't, I don't force myself to do it because it's not really fun at that point. So I'll take a break. I think eventually, once you do that, take a break and stuff like that, I think you'll be like, okay, I'm like recharged now again, and I'll jump back in, right? So I think just trying to balance it um, and if you feel fatigued or if you're working too much, just you don't have to animate. You don't have to animate every day. You can take a break, and I don't animate every day, but I'll watch Netflix or something just to relax, and then eventually they'll be like, okay, now I feel like I need to animate something because I'm recharged again or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important to take a good time and rest to be more efficient while working. So another question is, what's your process about problem solving in general?
Problem solving in general. My process um, depends on what the problem is, but I definitely try to figure it out. But I don't want to spend a ton of time if I can't like figure it out. I don't want to spend, you know, I'll try to figure out and ask somebody or I think that knows it or that could try to steer me in the direction at least or something like that um, because there's so much I don't know, so I'm not gonna. But I do like to test it out and try to see if I can figure it out myself to understand what the problem is and how I could fix it if I can. But if not, then I'll try to. I'll ask without spending, and that's what you do in the office anyway. You want to try it, but then you also want to, okay, it's taking too long. Let's ask somebody or something.
Yeah, so what's the platform that you use to contact someone? Do you contact some workmates? Do you use some forums?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, workmates or colleagues, yeah, stuff like that, or friends. I'll just message them on Instagram, Discord, or Gmail or something, and see if they have any advice and stuff like that. Yeah, or if not, if it's still not, then search YouTube and try to find something that maybe helps. So,
Yeah, that's true. More and more content there. So, how to get better at animation for a self-taught animation student?
how to get better at a self-taught animation student. it's hard. I mean, you can't, well, I mean, you can get better by just constantly doing animations um, but eventually though, you need to show people or professionals your work, see what they think about it, get some feedback, and then do more tests and tests. So how do I get better at animation for self-taught animations? So yeah, I would say as far as resources, I would say, I mean, there's lots of stuff now. I guess you can find on YouTube and all this kind of stuff, but definitely the Animator Survival Kit. Obviously, that's a good book to keep by your desk. I think, in general, I think when I see people do tests, I think sometimes they go too big with them, and I think if you just do a bunch of small tests, I think you learn more from that than doing 2 weeks on a thing and polish it to the final, week of polish. I mean, that's good to learn polish, but I think it's helpful to just do a bunch of tests so that. But I guess the thing would be, I think you should know what the test is trying to, or what you're doing is trying to. What are you trying to learn from that exercise or test? So some tests I do, some tests that are just for studying, body locomotion or something like that. So I'm not going to spend hours polishing it because that's not the point of that one. Otherwise, I would just spend a ton of time doing that, but some tests, I'll be okay, this test I'm going to study polish, so I'm going to really try to, do polish on this one or something like that, right? So that's kind of how I do those kind of things.
Okay, so a fun question. According to you, what's the best fast food?
Best fast food? Well, in Texas, the best fast food is probably a place called the Whataburger. It's just a burger place, but it's pretty good. They compare it to In-N-Out in California. So.
Okay, that's really good to know. I will keep that in mind when I will come to Texas. So yeah, surprising question, but actually that's a fun one. A more technical question, do you prefer working with Maya Muscles or Ziva FX? Which one is worth learning according to you?
I don't know if I've used Maya Muscle, but I haven't used the other one either, so so I'm not sure on that. So much I have to learn still. That's what I mean. There's so much, but so I don't know. I don't even know. I've never. I don't even know what Ziva VFX is. So that's probably a question that I couldn't give a great answer on that one.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have some advices to build a relation and meet more clients?
To meet more clients. Well, I mean, going to all these events, any kind of event you can get to, I think those are all super useful to meet people. And CTN, SIGGRAPH, all these GDC, all these kind of things are all, there's tons of clients there, right? And then also LinkedIn and online stuff, I think helps a lot too, just to be, because everybody's on there, everybody's on these platforms now. So I think you just meet a bunch through there. Yeah.
Okay. So another one, let me check because there's a lot that we don't have the time to answer. So how do you plan your shot for animation? Physically impossible to shoot reference.
Impossible to shoot reference. That's hard to say. A lot of shots that or a lot of these physical shots that I do, I don't have reference for them, because, like you said, like it's impossible to find some reference for some of this stuff. So, um, so what I usually do is I feel it out based on the driving force. So if it's the core of the body, or if it's Spider-Man or something like that, it's usually the core, right, or something that's kind of driving this, the physicality of it. So, and but I'm able to feel it out, or I'm getting better at feeling it out, because I've I I'm starting to get a good understanding of how the body works and what the body would do in certain situations. So even if I don't have reference for it, I think I could, if he's twisting here, like I feel like I know, like I can feel like what that body would do there, and then I could, do that shot. So I think yeah, you could try to feel it out, but at the same time, I would say just keep studying body locomotion and seeing what really happens in situations, because eventually I think you'll know what the body does in situations and how it counters and all this kind of stuff. So, and then I think at that stage, you can probably do any shot, because you know how this limb or that limb would react if this would happen or something like that, right? So that's kind of how so.
Okay, thanks for those advices.
Yeah.
So for lip sync, do you use blend shapes or keyframe rig poses?
I think, do I use or animate with them? I think, I don't know. I've used both. In some rigs, I can't even tell which method they're using, if it's blend shapes or if it's joint. I'm guessing they mean joint based rig, blend shapes or keyframe rig poses. I think that's what it means. So I would say I think I prefer the ones with the uh, joint-based facial rig with corrective shapes on top of it. I think that's probably the best ones. But I've seen some really awesome blend shape rigs that are like, oh wow, couldn't even tell that was blend shapes. So.
Okay, thanks for answering. So, at this point in life, what is growth to you in terms of your profession?
What is growth for me in terms of my profession? Well, there's so much I have to still learn. Like I don't even like the Maya muscle. I don't. That sounds cool. I need to, as I'm getting better with body mechanics and understanding that, I'm really trying to make sure since I teach courses in acting and all this kind of stuff, I want to make sure I also really can get some good acting choices and all that kind of stuff into the animations too, because that's really hard to. It's not that, well, it's still hard. It's hard to get things to move properly, but it's really hard just to get things to get the character to feel like they're alive and they're thinking and all this kind of stuff, right? So that's always a process that I'm trying to get better and better at. Yeah.
Okay, and last question from the community is, what's your advices for a good demo reel?
So what I always tell the students is that they shouldn't be applying with the same rail to everywhere. So I actually tell them that they should be making a new reel for every place they apply to. Some of the shots could be on the same reel, like you could put the same piece into a bunch of reels, but each studio looks for different stuff, so I don't. There's no one reel fits all. But as far as a general, like if you're saying like what's a general advice for a reel, then I would say showing that the biggest thing for any company, I think, is showing that you understand like truly understand body mechanics. Since most of the things we do is bipedal stuff in general at places, but I would say, yeah, just making sure you really show that you understand locomotion, body locomotion. So, and then other advice for real would be to make sure to show like other professionals and just ask them what needs to be cut out, because even if it's just a one bad shot on a reel, that would be enough to turn off the reel, because it shows like, oh, you thought that was good. I'm like, that's not good. So like at the bottom, if the locomotion was wrong on that piece, then like, well then, yeah, that's not, it's just not worth, it's just too risky to take the chance. Like, is that, if that's really their capabilities or not. So, so yeah, strong body mechanics, and I would say show and see and ask them, what do you think the weakest pieces are in here? And then just either redo it or get rid of it completely, because it won't help, for sure. So it won't help you. And then with some places, it's all about acting, and like Pixar, you gotta show just believable, genuine acting on their stuff. But versus some places they want to see just super polished work. So in general, I would just say show locomotion, make sure it's polished, and try to, for me in some places, what I tell students is that make sure you're showing your kind of versatility. So if you're doing some body mechanics pieces, that's good. And then also show I can do some facial with it and stuff like that to show kind of you're well-rounded. But again, it depends on the position, because like a gameplay position, they don't really want to see your acting pieces or things like that, right? So, but that's part of what I was saying earlier, just making sure that you should be making pretty much a new reel for every position and place you apply to, I think. And I just think it helps, because especially nowadays, I think it's like studios will, like if they're working on, I don't know, or like for example, I think ImageWorks, right? They're working on Spider-Verse 2 now, right? I think. So if you were to send them a reel, and if it was me, I would be putting in like some Spider-Man pieces and things like that to show like, look, I can do what y'all are doing, because then they're like, oh, but it's risky, because if you can't do it, they can tell, but but it helps though if you can, because you know they see that, oh, that looks like Spider-Man, so definitely, and that's what they need, people on the show is that, right? So you get kind of a leg up a little bit. So, but that's part of my thing, is like trying to make sure you cater your reel to that place. But yeah, I know I've seen a lot of people just like send the same reel to every place, and it's like, that doesn't really help, right? So.
Yeah, that's great, because that's also my point of view, that you need to think about the value that you can add to the people that will hire you. So you really need to show something that will be nice for the company that you will work. And also another good point that you said is like the level of your reel is like the level of your lowest creation. So if you put something really bad, people can quickly ask themselves if the great part is happy accident or what's your real capabilities.
Yeah, so it's too risky to put that kind of other stuff on there, so it's just better to remove it. Even if you spend a month on it, I would just keep it.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for the last words. Do you have some stuff to suggest, or some place where people can meet or improve?
Yeah, I mean, the one that I know the most is the Anim State Discord, that's out there. I think I would join that. That's just filled with animators and artists, and there's like there's a bunch of threads or channels that like showing feedback and all this kind of stuff. So I would say that's a good safe bet to do if you're not sure where to join and things like that.
That's cool. Can you send me the link, please?
Yeah, if I can figure out how to get a link to this, to the Anim State. Let's see. I don't know where the, let me see. Yeah, here, I'll post it in the chat. So I would say that's a good one. And then I'm trying to think if there's any other groups or something I know of. I'm not sure, but other than that, I would just say Twitter and Instagram, all this kind of, they all have animation communities and stuff. So I would just, or even, yeah, like y'all's channel is animation community stuff, right? So all that kind of stuff is where you can connect with all these people, I would say. But if you want to be able to like post your work and say, hey, can somebody look at this? That would be the Discord. I would say that would be a good place to do it.
Okay, thanks a lot for all those tips. And again, thanks for your time. Really appreciate your work. And
Thanks.
yeah, thanks again for the interview. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.